Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. Today we're going to be talking about getting proper tension on your bandsaw. Now what brought this up for me was when I purchased this old Craftsman King Sealy bandsaw. Ran into an issue where when I was working on one of my pieces, the cuts were really rough, and eventually my thrust bearing, or actually it was my thrust plate on this guy, literally just sheared right off. And I figured out later it was because I was literally just pushing the blade straight into the thrust plate the entire time, and as it was spinning and spinning and spinning, it heated up, and then right at the contact point with the rest of the bandsaw, it just snapped. So today we're going to be putting in some upgraded thrust bearings, and we're also going to go through properly tensioning your bandsaw so that you don't run into this kind of an issue. All right, let's get started. Okay, so if you're new to woodworking or new to bandsaws, the thrust bearing or thrust plate is the little piece that sits right here, and what it does is it provides support against the blade so that when it's being pushed back, it doesn't just pull back freely. It helps to support it on the backside so that it keeps it rigid from top to bottom. Now there's one up here and there's also one underneath the plate. So you can see what happened on this one is this thrust bearing right here, or this thrust plate, literally just spun, heated up, and then sheared off right here. So I'm gonna have to remove this guy first, and then I'll go ahead and install my new ones. Now the new ones are actual thrust bearings, and so instead of just being a plate like this, it actually has a bearing on this front piece so that the whole front piece spins and this back piece does not. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see this one looks a little bit different, and that's because there's a whole bearing installed in the front. So the front should spin freely like this, while the back remains rigidly mounted. So this guy will allow it to rotate, allow the blade to be supported without working on this right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give you guys a very quick time lapse of me taking this apart and replacing both of those bearings, and then we'll get into properly tensioning your blade. Next up, we're going to reload the blade, and we're going to move all of the thrust bearings away, and then also the cooling blocks or the guide blocks away so that the blade can run freely around the wheels. Okay, so once you got your blade back on in just enough tension to keep it on, no more than that, what you're going to want to do is remove your guide blocks or move them far enough out, move your thrust bearings back, and then you're going to want to move your depth of cut adjustment up as high as it can go. Okay, so the next step in this process is we're going to turn the bandsaw on, and what we are looking for in this segment is the blade to wobble in place. You're going to get kind of a standing wave. We tried to create as much space in here so that it has as much space to do it as possible. But the other thing you need to be careful about is if your blade is not tensioned all the way, your blade could come off. So what you're going to want to do is turn it on and then off real fast to make sure that your blade is actually stable on your wheels. And once you know that it's stable on your wheels, then we can go ahead and start this test. So there you go. I'm not quite sure how well it came through on film, but you could see the blade wobbling back and forth in place. It had this kind of like standing wave or vibration that would sometimes come in and out. And so I kept on increasing the tension until it stopped, until the standing wave stopped, and you could see it just one steady blade coming through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lower all of my supports, so both with my depth adjustment arm and then on the underneath side, and I'm going to adjust my guide blocks and adjust my thrust bearings so they're about a dollar bill away from this blade. It's one of the methods that I had seen online, and it seems to work pretty well for a bunch of people, so I'm going to go ahead and try that this time. If you have a better way of doing it, let me know. I am all ears. Okay, so as a quick reminder, when you put a new blade on your bandsaw, you should always start it up in one little spurt and then shut it off immediately, because that allows you to shut it off as quickly as possible just in case something goes wrong. And then you can go ahead and do a full power run. Everything looked great on that, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a test cut on this scrap of 2x4, see how smooth the cut is, because that was one of the things that I was having issues with last time, is how smooth it is. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it. It's not awful, but it's also not great. So I'm not even really sure that it was the tension on my blade that was the issue. And I had to cut through that thing really slow. It did not feel like I was cutting through like butter, like some people say that their bandsaw cuts. So I think that I actually probably need to get a different blade. If you've got a different diagnosis, let me know. I am all ears, and I will see if I can't get an improvement. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. If you like the kind of content we're producing here at Northwest Craftsman, we would love a thumbs up, and if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for joining the channel. We really appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to more projects. Going to be making a lot more progress on that bed frame coming up now that the shop is pretty well set up and it's nice and tight and dust sealed. So keep up for updates, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, have a great one. Talk to you later.